About 6 months ago, my neighbor started leaving groceries on my front porch. At first, I thought somebody mixed up addresses. Then it kept happening. Every Thursday. Always around 7 a.m. Milk, eggs, bread, sometimes canned food. No note. No receipt. Nothing. Now for context, I live alone. Small townhouse, quiet neighborhood. Most people keep to themselves, especially the guy living directly across from me. His name was Walter, probably late 60s. Always wore the same gray jacket, never talked much. But every morning at exactly 6:30, he'd sit on his porch drinking coffee and staring at the street, like clockwork. The weird thing was, Walter never seemed creepy, just lonely. So after the fourth week of mystery groceries, I finally walked over and asked if he knew anything about them. The second I mentioned the bags, his expression changed. Not guilty, more like nervous. Then he quietly said, "You shouldn't leave your curtains open at night." I laughed because honestly, I thought he was joking. But Walter didn't laugh back. Then he stood up and went inside without another word. That immediately unsettled me, because suddenly the groceries didn't feel friendly anymore. That night, I checked my security camera footage for the first time. And at exactly 6:52 a.m., I saw somebody walk onto my porch wearing a hoodie. The camera angle only showed their back. But right before leaving, the person looked directly into the camera, and my stomach dropped because it was Walter. The next morning, I confronted him again. This time, he admitted the groceries were from him. But when I asked why, he just kept glancing toward my house. Then he said something that made absolutely no sense. Because eventually he's going to stop checking your fridge. I remember staring at him trying to process what he just said. I asked who he was. Walter immediately shook his head, then quietly said, "Forget I said anything." After that, he refused to answer the door. Now at this point, most normal people probably would have ignored the entire thing. But I couldn't. Because suddenly, every weird thing in my house started replaying in my head. Food disappearing, cabinets slightly open, lights turned on when I knew I turned them off, little things I kept dismissing. Then 3 nights later, I woke up around 2 a.m. because I heard movement downstairs. At first, I assumed it was my cat, except I don't own a cat. I grabbed my phone and listened carefully. Footsteps, slow ones, coming from my kitchen. Then I heard my refrigerator door open. The second I heard the refrigerator open, my entire body froze. I remember staring at my bedroom door trying to convince myself I imagined it. Then I heard glass bottles clinking together. Somebody was definitely downstairs. I grabbed the metal baseball bat beside my bed and quietly opened the bedroom door. The hallway was dark, completely silent. Then I heard footsteps again, this time moving toward the living room. I slowly walked downstairs. Every step felt unbelievably loud. When I reached the bottom, I turned the corner expecting a burglar. Nobody was there, but the refrigerator door was hanging open, and a carton of milk sat on the counter, half empty. That's when I noticed something even worse. The back door, unlocked. I know I locked it before bed. I checked the entire house after that. Closets, bathroom, laundry room, nothing. No sign anybody was still inside. But when I checked my security cameras, there was no footage. Not corrupted, not blurry, completely deleted between 1:43 a.m. and 2:11 a.m. The next morning, I went straight to Walter's house and immediately knew something was wrong. His front door was open, coffee mug still sitting outside, but no Walter. I called his name several times before stepping inside. The house smelled awful, like dust and mildew, and weirdly enough, almost no furniture, just a recliner, small TV, kitchen table. That was basically it. Then I noticed dozens of sticky notes covering one wall. Dates, times, random observations. Blue car parked outside again. Kitchen light 2:13 a.m. Front porch movement Thursday. At first, I thought Walter was paranoid. Then I saw my address written in the middle, circled. Underneath it was one sentence. He finally came back. I genuinely felt cold reading that. Then I heard a voice behind me. "Get out of there." I spun around so fast I almost fell. It was Walter, standing outside the front window, and he looked terrified. He rushed inside, locked the door immediately, then pulled all the blinds shut. I asked what the hell was going on. And Walter finally told me the story. Apparently, 10 years earlier, the previous owner of my townhouse disappeared, completely vanished. Police assumed he left voluntarily, but Walter claimed strange things started happening months before. Missing food, lights turning on, movement late at night, exactly what I'd been experiencing. Then Walter looked directly at me and said, "He lived in the crawl space." I honestly thought Walter was insane. A crawl space? Like some horror movie? But Walter kept talking. According to him, years ago, the previous homeowner started suspecting somebody was entering the house at night. Police searched the property multiple times. Nothing. Then one day the homeowner disappeared. Afterward, contractors renovating the place discovered signs. Somebody had secretly been living above the ceiling insulation. Food wrappers, blankets, water bottles, even hidden pathways between walls. But nobody was ever found. I asked why police never told new owners. Walter just shrugged, then quietly said, "Because officially none of it happened." That sentence bothered me more than anything else. Officially, meaning somebody deliberately buried the story. Then Walter suddenly asked, "Do you hear scratching at night?" I froze, because sometimes I did. Tiny sounds above the ceiling. I always assumed it was rats. Walter's expression immediately darkened. Then he told me to leave my house immediately. At this point, I should have called police. Instead, I made the dumbest decision possible. I went home alone and started checking the attic. Nothing at first, just insulation and dust. Then I noticed drag marks, long ones, like something heavy repeatedly moved across the floor. That's when I saw the vent. Tiny, almost hidden behind insulation, and beside it sat a plastic spoon. Fresh yogurt still on it. My stomach dropped instantly, because I hadn't eaten yogurt in over a week. Then I heard movement above me, not scratching, crawling, slow crawling, right over my head. I backed toward the attic ladder immediately. Then something slammed against the wall inside the crawl space. Hard. I nearly fell trying to get down. The second my feet hit the hallway floor, all the lights in my house went out, every single one. And then I heard footsteps, inside the walls, moving, fast. I ran outside and called police. They arrived about 15 minutes later, and honestly, the officers clearly thought I was overreacting until they checked the attic. Then one of them suddenly yelled, "We've got movement!" The next few minutes were complete chaos. Officers tearing through the house, flashlights everywhere, shouting. At one point, I heard somebody running above the ceiling, then crashing, then silence. Eventually, police came back outside, and one officer asked me a question that genuinely terrified me. "How long have you lived here?" I said 8 months. The officer looked at me for a second, then quietly replied, "He's probably been here the entire time." Apparently, the man living in my crawl space escaped before police could catch him. They found evidence everywhere. Food wrappers, blankets, water containers, even a small battery-powered lamp. But no actual person. The worst part? They also found dozens of photos of me, sleeping, watching TV, cooking. Some were taken through ceiling vents, others through tiny holes hidden behind air grates. One officer later admitted it looked like the guy had been studying my routine. That sentence kept replaying in my head for days. Studying, not spying, studying. Police searched the neighborhood all night. Nothing. Then the next morning, Walter disappeared. Completely. No answer at his house. No car. Nothing. At first, police assumed he got scared and left town. Then they discovered something strange. Walter never technically owned the house across from me. There were no records of him living there. No utilities. No rental agreement. Nothing. According to city records, the property had been vacant for almost 4 years. That genuinely messed me up, because I'd spoken to Walter almost every day. Neighbors saw him too. The coffee mug, the porch, everything. Then police finally identified the crawl space man, and somehow things got worse. His name was Daniel Mercer, and he was the previous owner who supposedly disappeared 10 years earlier, meaning Walter told the truth. Mostly, according to investigators, Daniel suffered severe mental health issues after losing his family years earlier. Instead of leaving town like people assumed, he secretly stayed inside the house for 10 years, living between walls, crawl spaces, abandoned attics, surviving by entering homes at night. But none of that explained Walter. Then one detective finally showed me an old case photo, and my blood ran cold, because the man standing beside Daniel in the picture was Walter, except the photo was from 1998, and Walter looked exactly the same. After police showed me the photo, I genuinely thought there had to be some mistake, because Walter looked identical. Same gray jacket, same face, not older, not younger, exactly the same. The detective explained that Walter's real name was apparently Arthur Bell, and according to records, Arthur Bell died in 2003. Car accident, official death certificate, buried locally. At that point, I stopped trying to make sense of anything, because either police records were wrong, or I'd spent months talking to a dead man. Then investigators discovered something even stranger. Neighbors remembered Walter appearing around the same time. Strange incidents started happening at my house. Not before, meaning nobody actually noticed him living there earlier. It was like he just appeared, then disappeared again after police found Daniel. I moved out 2 weeks later. Immediately. Didn't care about breaking the lease. Didn't care about money. I just wanted out. While packing, I found one final thing, taped underneath my kitchen table. A folded note. The handwriting matched the sticky notes from Walter's house. It only said, "I tried to keep him fed so he wouldn't watch you." I still think about that sentence constantly, because suddenly the groceries made sense. Walter wasn't feeding me, he was feeding Daniel, trying to keep him away from my house. And somehow that realization terrified me more than anything else, because it meant Walter knew Daniel was still inside the walls the entire time, maybe for years. To this day, police never found Daniel again. Officially, he's considered missing again. And Walter? No clue. Sometimes I wonder if Arthur Bell faked his death years ago. That's the logical explanation. Probably. But every now and then, I still remember something weird. Every single Thursday morning, before the groceries appeared, my security cameras always briefly lost signal at exactly 6:52 a.m. every time. And according to police records, Arthur Bell's fatal car accident happened at exactly 6:52 a.m.